It's Tuesday, February 24th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. An escaped prisoner remains on the loose, so why aren't police talking about it? Always larger than life, one city is making sure Stompin' Tom stays that way.
And I'll have snow reports from the recent nor'easter, plus when we can expect some snow to return to the region.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. It's been nearly 2 weeks since an inmate escaped from a jail in Shediac. He remains on the loose tonight. Court documents show he has a history of weapons offenses, but police are not talking about the hunt to find him. CTV's Derek Haggett reports.
The RCMP says there is no new public information to share regarding the escape of an inmate, but CTV News has learned he was charged with weapons offenses just last month. Todd John Lewis escaped from the Southeast Regional Correctional Center on February 12th and is still on the run. Court documents show the 35-year-old is facing charges for allegedly having a restricted weapon, despite being prohibited from possessing firearms for life. Lewis was charged on January 21st with 9 offenses, including possessing a loaded restricted firearm, carrying a restricted weapon in a careless manner, carrying a concealed weapon, possessing a weapon, a knife. A judge issued the lifelong weapons prohibition order last August. The court documents allege Lewis had a loaded Soviet-era semi-automatic pistol used during the Second World War in his possession on January 20th in Moncton. Police say Lewis escaped around supper time on February 12th by jumping the fence. The RCMP only learned of his escape after midnight and issued an emergency alert roughly 12 hours later. Due to the length of time he was missing, the RCMP issued the alert just after noon on Friday the 13th. Lewis is described as being around 5'7" and 146 pounds with blonde hair and blue eyes. Police say he should not be approached if spotted. Anyone who does see him should call 911 immediately. Derek Haggett, CTV News, Shediac, New Brunswick.
Police are also not saying much about a homicide investigation in Moncton. The body of a 39-year-old woman was discovered in a garbage bin at the bottom of High Street on February 15th. It's being investigated as a homicide, but the cause of death is not known. The RCMP does confirm an operation and search warrant conducted on Vale Street in Moncton late last week was in connection to the investigation. No new information has been released since then. We have a lot of reporting tonight on your money and how it's being spent. We begin with a clear picture of what the Nova Scotia government is sacrificing to cut its billion-dollar deficit. It includes reductions or even elimination of hundreds of grants to groups and organizations. CTV late anchor Bruce Frisco joins us. Bruce, we have a term in our business called a news dump for important information that's intentionally released close to airtime, and this list seems to fit.
I would say so, Todd. Hot off the presses, landed in our inbox at 4:22 p.m. today. 13 pages long, 287 grants distributed by a number of different departments. Many of them, as you say, are now reduced or eliminated completely. Here's just a few in the latter category. $40,000 investments in the Arts Nova Scotia Art Bank are gone as of now, as is the $700,000 Publishers Assistance Program. Another $75,000 earmarked for active living through Bicycle Nova Scotia, also eliminated. In the Department of Education and Early Childhood Development, $1.4 million dedicated to various scholarships and awards. That's gone, along with $90,000 set aside for African Nova Scotia youth through the Afrocentric Summer Scholar Program, and another $12,000 dedicated to the province's Women in Engineering Scholarship. That vanishes as well. And from the Department of Environment and Climate Change, the Nova Scotia Climate Change Fund actually makes the list twice for a total of almost $4 million. The document says that the 2026 to 27 is the last year of funding for that one. I should tell you right up front, there are many others on this list that are also being eliminated, and even more that are simply being reduced, some by a little, some by a lot. You add everything up, and it should come out to a bit more than $130 million, which is what we were told in yesterday's budget coverage. Projected deficit, just to remind you, this year $1.9 billion, but the projected net debt is very close to $28 billion for the year ahead, Todd.
All right, Bruce, about 13 pages in your hand there, I believe, of,
Right there.
of cuts. Thank you, and we will see you at 11:30. And a reminder, we have much more reporting on the Nova Scotia budget at our website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. In New Brunswick, a leaked government document is creating a buzz on university campuses. As it looks to cut spending, the province has some ideas that would rattle the halls of higher learning. CTV's Laura Brown has details.
The University of New Brunswick claims the title of the oldest English language university in the country, founded in 1785. And just up the hill, St. Thomas University has been around since 1910. They're independent of one another, and merging the two has always been a punchline on campus, until the idea appeared in a government document last week.
I just think it's crazy.
The idea was among 16 presented to New Brunswick universities. Those included other mergers like CCNB with the Université de Moncton, privatizing Mount Allison University, repurpose university infrastructure for nursing homes or health clinics, asking municipalities to contribute to recreational facilities, or cut operating grants by 10% while also freezing tuition.
It's almost as if I were to ask ChatGPT, hey, give me some ideas on how I can fix post-secondary education in the budget, and then it would give me those 16 ideas.
St. Thomas University Students' Union president clearly thinks there are better ways to find the cuts the province is looking for. The document states the department needs to find $35 to $50 million in reductions. All four publicly funded universities told CTV News nothing has been decided, but they're prepared to defend their value.
The university sector is among the top 6 export revenue generating sectors in New Brunswick, behind aquaculture. Nearly $50 million annually is generated in provincial tax by the 4 publicly funded universities.
Premier Susan Holt was asked about the document this afternoon.
I appreciate the love that many New Brunswickers have expressed for their alma mater, and I want to reassure people that our goal is not to eliminate a school. It's to look at and to challenge maybe some of those norms.
She said right now the province spends $449 million annually on funding post-secondary education. The document alludes to a quick timeline, asking the universities to submit their input so it could be presented to Cabinet this week. Laura Brown, CTV News, Fredericton.
The budget battle continues at Halifax City Hall as councillors and the mayor square off over ways to cut spending and reduce a proposed tax hike. There's been bike lanes, buses, skate parks, and skating rinks. As CTV's Calvin Smith reports, the latest row is over climate funding.
The motion is defeated.
Council has been unable to agree on big spending cuts while trying to trim down a proposed double-digit tax increase. This time, a motion from the mayor to chop strategic infrastructure and climate funding by 1/3 for 2026-27.
The motion is not a referendum on Halifax. It's not calling into question our municipality's commitment or my own commitment to climate action. Those are hardwired values in all of us at this point.
But he says finding a balance between those values and affordability is needed. Looking at a one-time reduction of $6 million or spreading that out for the final 5 years of Halifax, the city's climate tax. But that didn't sit well with council, shot down 13-3.
This is wrong on so many levels. We should have been doing this 20 years ago. We don't slow this down. Respectfully, Mayor, I'm so concerned that this is even on the table.
Coming on the heels of another mayor's motion defeated Friday, asking for a staff report about sweeping staffing cuts, reducing HRM compensation and wages over the next 3 years by up to 7%, a motion that was only supported by Councillor David Hensby. The rest of council opposed. Councillor Catherine Morris didn't hold back, calling this the most chaotic budget and the worst motion.
It is so thoughtless, so reckless, so disrespectful, so irresponsible, and basically lazy.
She says the motion came too late in the budget process.
We need to look everywhere for savings, no question, but we need to do it in a targeted way, a specific way, and this definitely didn't have a lot of thought behind it as far as I was concerned.
Fillmore says he feels like he's fighting to, quote, protect affordability.
I am puzzled that it's not clear to the majority of our council that we have to make substantial cuts in this year's budget.
Now, Councillor Catherine Moore says it feels like some of the motions from the mayor at this stage appear a bit desperate and that they're causing a lot of chaos in the budget process. Now, even if council holds the tax rate, bills will still increase due to assessments. So what's an expected tax hike for you? Well, the mayor says he'd be comfortable with a low to mid single-digit bill increase. But as proven from this story and the others you've heard, it's a tough time for governments of all levels. Todd.
A story that never seems to end. Calum Smith from City Hall tonight, downtown Halifax. Thank you. They're touted as the future, the solution to burning fossil fuels. Governments have offered incentives of all kinds to encourage drivers to switch to electric and hybrid vehicles. So why does Nova Scotia's new budget slap a tax on them? CTV's Jonathan McGuinness explains.
Rhonda Frank travels the province in her small fleet of electric vehicles, teaching art.
I absolutely love them. I've been asked many times, would I go back to a gas-powered car? And absolutely not.
It's about to get more expensive for Frank to operate her vehicles. As part of Nova Scotia's budget tabled yesterday, a $500 fee for electric vehicles and $250 for hybrids is being implemented, to be paid every 2 years when license plates are renewed.
I believe we're the fourth province to bring this type of levy in.
Saskatchewan is one of those 3 other provinces. They've had this policy on the books since 2021. Nova Scotia's finance minister says drivers of gas vehicles pay for road upkeep through fuel taxes, and EV and hybrid drivers should do the same.
I think it's a recognition that electric vehicles do not pay the motor fuel tax, and that this is their contribution to maintaining the highways, which they certainly use.
The standard pickup truck generally weighs the same or more than an EV.
Frank says the move is a peculiar one, especially with the federal government offering financial incentives to encourage people to buy electric vehicles. The province says they will soon provide a definition for what they determine to be a hybrid vehicle.
It feels kind of like they're punishing people for trying to make a climate-friendly choice.
The province says these new fees will raise $1.6 million in year one and $3.3 million the year after. The new charges for EVs and hybrids will come into effect October 1st. Jonathan McGuinness, CTV News, Halifax.
We're putting the poll here tonight and we're asking, should electric vehicle owners have to pay a tax or a fee to help with road maintenance? A simple yes or no are your options tonight. And the poll is up now at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Well, there's a live look at uptown St. John, where it's currently -4 degrees. Let's bring in CTV meteorologist Kayla Mitchell with her first look at the weather. The big storm is gone. That would be the calm after the storm, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, the St. John area did pick up a fairly significant amount of snow out of that nor'easter. In fact, that's what we're going to begin with by taking a look at some snowfall reports from that weather system for select sites in the Maritimes. So these are coming from the network of volunteers at Coco Race. I want to thank everybody who's dedicated and provides those reports from that network, as well as some weather stations around the region. So St. John, 22 centimeters. That came in from the St. John Airport. 27 centimeters of snow from the Moncton Airport. Fredericton area, about 7 centimeters. Remember, the snow in New Brunswick was expected to get lighter as you moved north and west into the province. And that happened, though Miramichi did a little bit more than I was expecting. I had about 10 to 15 centimeters of snow from Miramichi, and they picked up around 20. In Prince Edward Island, there are fairly widespread snowfall reports between 15 and 22 centimeters of snow. And then for Nova Scotia, widespread snowfall reports between around 15 and 30 centimeters. The one report inland in Lunenburg County from Newcombeville, 41 centimeters of snow there and 31 centimeters at Yarmouth. Now, a lot of the observers did report that this was a difficult weather system to measure snow on the ground with because of the extensive blowing and drifting snow because of the high and gusty winds. Some reports from this morning as well for parts of Nova Scotia. There would have been some compaction of that snow down because of that turnover to some light rain at the end of it. Now, we're behind that weather system now. A nor'easter has gone up and brought in a mixture of snow, ice pellets, freezing rain, and rain to parts of Newfoundland. For tonight, we're looking at colder temperatures, partly cloudy conditions, low chance that there could be a couple of lighter flurries. We do have a little bit of snow to talk about in the forecast late on Wednesday, though, Todd, and I'll have the details of that coming up later on.
Okay, we'll see you in a few minutes for that. It didn't break any records, but the latest dump of snow from yet another nor'easter did break some hearts and strain some backs along the way. CTV's Emma Convey has more on the cleanup.
Maritimers have had plenty of practice this winter to perfect shoveling. Some are eager to show off their method.
Really heavy, dense kind of snow. You got to take little bits at a time on the shovel, like this here, and then just...
Every time the road plow comes along, there's a new layer to get rid of just manually, so it's been a lot of hefting.
This comes after heavy snow and high winds hit the Maritimes Monday. Snow removal took place overnight in Halifax, where they continue today.
They've been focused on priority areas, so focused on our priority 1 areas, which serve hospitals, schools, major transit corridors, and other major critical infrastructure. And we're also working on some of that detail work, working on our sidewalks and bike lanes as well.
All schools across Nova Scotia and PEI were closed, with many in New Brunswick as well. Moncton, like many other communities, took buses off the streets and closed City Hall and rec centers until mid-morning. Businesses scrambled too.
We close our other location typically on a snow day and keep the one in a residential walking to neighborhood open.
The owner of Cafe Laura simply refuses to let winter decide when she closes her shop.
I'm ready to pick up a shovel and clear snow. We have wonderful community members who come out and help us out as well. And I think being a community hub, you want to make sure you're available to your regulars.
The parking ban was in effect. Still, many didn't follow it. Halifax bylaw officers wrote up nearly 300 tickets and towed a couple dozen vehicles.
My car actually got stuck on the snow for like 1 hour. Like I couldn't get out of the snow pile.
I've got my hiking boots because I thought it would be, slippery, but I need my big boots that go up to my knees.
While the snow made driving difficult, it continues to cause delays in the region's biggest airport. But power outages, however, have been a fraction of what we've seen in other nor'easters this season. Emma Convey, CTV News, Halifax.
It's clear the province of Nova Scotia is staking the future on natural resource extraction and generating energy to power the economy in coming years. But as CTV's Jesse Thomas reports, it has critics and supporters alike asking, who's paying?
Premier Tim Houston tabled the Powering the Economy Act today. That includes several pieces of legislation that aims to set the framework around development of natural resources like offshore wind and oil and gas, and how the province intends to make money from it.
It sends a message to Nova Scotians that there is significant opportunity that will come from the jobs and employment that go around, the spin-off from that. This is thousands of jobs.
The bill includes the Offshore Renewable Energy Revenue Act that establishes levies which companies developing wind power will pay to the province annually to operate here. Early estimates suggest it could bring in $35 million to the province annually.
Obviously, the Prime Minister has a push on resource development as well, and we have a lot to add to that. We're gonna add to it.
But this is early stages, and no revenue is projected in this year's budget from energy projects like the Wind West Offshore Clean Energy Project or other opportunities in exploring and developing for natural gas. Opposition leader Claudia Chender spoke at a rally outside Nova Scotia Power headquarters where a group is calling for fair energy rates. The NDP leader said the government's long-term projection ignores immediate revenue opportunities and traditional industries.
Every idea that this government has come up with for revenue has no plan, no price tag, and no timeline.
Houston has been critical of previous governments, saying they ignored the natural resource opportunities here, even blocking them, suggesting they've held the economy back.
Banning resource development without having a discussion about what's possible to do safely and sustainably. So we're having those discussions, and I'm really excited about the potential we have as a province.
To provide services like health care and safe roads and highways is expensive, said Houston, who believes energy and natural resources will help pave the way. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Blacks Harbour along the Bay of Fundy is the 12th New Brunswick community to get a primary care clinic. The Premier made the announcement this afternoon, and CTV's Avery McRae was there.
For 25 years, the Fundy Health Centre has served the bulk of Blacks Harbour and is now the site of the province's 12th collaborative care clinic announced since Susan Holt took office.
More than 1,100 people coming off the wait list to add to the 4,000 patients that are already attached here means that everyone in Eastern Charlotte is going to be able to call Fundy their primary care home.
The province is spending $1.5 million that will support both upgrades to the facility and the hiring of more staff. Kate Burkholder has been a nurse practitioner here for 23 years and says the upgrades are needed.
Having a good collaborative team is wonderful. We come and go out of each other's room to bounce things off of.
Unlike some previously announced clinics, this center has pledged to ensure everyone in their community will be able to get the primary care they need here without having to drive to bigger centers like St. John.
This is the geography that we have been promoting. We would like everybody, like the school system, to say if I live here, I have a family doctor. If I live here, I have a school. If I live here, I have a nurse practitioner.
This is the first collaborative care clinic announced by the province this year after naming 11 in 2025. When asked what the status of those 11 clinics are, the Premier says they are in different stages.
We're looking forward to doing a bit of a report back as we hit the 1-year anniversary on each of these 11 clinics to say how it's going, who's been added, how many patients have been attached, and what's left to do.
The Fundy Health Centre is already in the process of recruiting more staff for the expanded clinic, while renovations are expected to be completed over the next 2 years. Avery McRae, CTV News, Blacks Harbour, New Brunswick.
Time for a break now. Still to come in your newscast. Partly cloudy and cold tonight. Kalen returns with his full forecast. But next, ain't no busting through a brass board. St. John plans to put up a statue of native son Stompin' Tom Connors. We'll have the details after this. Stompin' Tom Connors wrote songs about everyday Canadians, the truck driver, the miner, the logger. It earned him the Order of Canada, a spot on the Walk of Fame, and made him a folk hero. He never wanted to be put on a pedestal, but as CTV's Nick Moore tells us, his hometown is doing it anyway.
It's Buckless Bud from the right red mud.
Before he became a Canadian music icon, Charles Thomas Connors started it all in St. John, where he was born February 9th, 1936.
One of his first songs that he ever wrote was Reversing Falls' Darling.
Connors spent those early formative years in the port city surviving extreme poverty. An effort is now afoot by the St. John-based Hemmings House Production Company to honor Stompin' Tom Connors with a statue in his hometown.
He really represents the human spirit when things are difficult, and to be able to overcome incredible obstacles, to only inject this sense of pride and spirit throughout our entire country.
He hits up that old New Brunswick line.
Connors' home province has always proudly called him their own. His ties to Prince Edward Island run deep after he moved to Skinner's Pond later on as a child. That island connection also cemented by this tourism ad. 800-565-7421. A statue of Stompin' Tom was unveiled in Sudbury, Ontario, 2 years after his death in 2015.
It's time for St. John to stand up and say, this is our son.
Last night, St. John City Council voted unanimously to move forward with the statue idea here. Fundraising will soon begin.
So St. John, we need to honor this guy and show him respect and honor, and his family as well, just to say we love this guy.
The group would like the statue to be located in a prominent area uptown, such as King Square or here along the waterfront. The group hopes a statue of Connors will be up sometime before the end of the year, putting this legendary Canadian back in his old stomping grounds. Nick Moore, CTV News, St. John.
Thank you, Nick, and won't that be great? Still to come, some snow. Thankfully, it's lighter snow for the region Wednesday night. Kalen will have the details in the full forecast right after this. So you think we got snow? Well, Newfoundlanders tonight are saying, hold my shovel. On some parts of the island, they're digging out from more than 100 centimeters of snow. There's so much in St. John's. They're running out of places to put it all.
Yeah.
Getting hit again, I believe, by the storm that we saw yesterday.
Yeah, they didn't catch this one too bad around the St. John's area. They were sort of more on the mixed side of the weather system, so it was initially some snow, but then there was a turnover through some ice pellets, freezing rain, and rain. I think at one point at the airport in St. John's, the snow depth was being reported as 107 centimeters, and that wouldn't be a drift or a pile. That would just be sort of a flat measured area of snow. Yeah. So, of course, the drifts and the piles are going to be significantly higher than that. That 107 centimeters actually came down a little bit today because of the mixed side they were on. I think they were sitting at around 98 centimeters, but that would just be that snow kind of compacting.
I was there a decade ago when they broke the snow record, and then a few years later, I think they coined the phrase Snowmageddon.
Yeah.
Before Cape Breton had it.
Before we had it.
You know, to say they're used to this, you know, they are. This doesn't make it any easier.
But it's still been a lot for them.
Yeah, it's been a lot.
Yeah. Let's take a look at what's coming up for us tonight here in the Maritimes. So we'll head straight over and take a look at our timeline. Generally partly cloudy skies tonight, colder temperatures. There are still likely to be a few lighter flurries around. The highest chance of flurries through this evening will actually be in Cape Breton, Inverness, and Victoria counties. Those coming in off the Gulf of St. Lawrence. Cold start to the day for tomorrow, but with a mix of sun and cloud in the morning hours. Now, after that, it'll be increasing cloudiness as we move into and through the afternoon. And here comes our next weather system. This is a weaker low pressure system with a series of weather fronts along with it, but it is going to be bringing a band of snow across the Maritimes. That snow will begin Wednesday afternoon in western areas of New Brunswick, first for communities along the border of New Brunswick and Maine, as well as the southwest of Nova Scotia. From there, moving into the evening, this band of snow begins to cross the Maritimes from the west towards the east. Now, you will notice that some greens are showing up around coastal areas of Nova Scotia, and it is possible moving through Wednesday evening and Wednesday night that snow does mix with or turn over to some rain, especially around the Atlantic coastline of Nova Scotia. The snow continues to move across the Maritimes as we move towards and past midnight. The last areas out of the snow will be Prince Edward Island and Cape Breton, and that will happen in the early morning hours of Thursday. In behind it, for the remainder of the day on Thursday for the Maritimes, there will be some scattered flurries around. Now, how much snow are we going to be picking up out of this next system? In most cases, amounts could be up to around 5 centimeters, sort of in the range of around 2 to 5 centimeters for most of the Maritimes. Some areas, though, could pick up a little bit more than that. The potential pockets of 5 to 10 centimeters of snow around the Bay of Fundy coastline in New Brunswick, including maybe in around the St. John area. A few parts of the west of Prince Edward Island could see some pockets of 5 to 10 centimeters of snow, and a few areas in the east of Nova Scotia as well, including some locations in Cape Breton. But those snowfall totals not coming anywhere near the amount of snow, of course, that we just had arrive in the region. Winds in the forecast for tonight remain out of the northwest. The gusts continue to diminish as we make our way towards and after midnight. A change in the wind direction for tomorrow as the winds become southwest through the day. They'll be sustained 10 to 20 kilometers per hour with some gusts between 20 and 40. I mentioned that it is going to be a colder night for the Maritimes, and low temperatures for New Brunswick tonight, mostly falling into a range of minus 13 to minus 18, minus 20s in the northwest of the province. Down to around minus 9 to minus 11 for much of Prince Edward Island tonight, and most communities in Nova Scotia several degrees below the freezing mark. Highs in the forecast for tomorrow for the north of New Brunswick between minus 3 and minus 6, with central and southern areas of that province with high temperatures mostly between minus 3 and 0. For Prince Edward Island tomorrow, the high temperatures for most communities will be around minus 2, minus 3. For eastern areas of Nova Scotia, the high temperatures tomorrow between minus 3 and 0. For northern and central parts of the province, the high temperatures between minus 2 and 0, and a similar range of high temperatures expected in the southwest of Nova Scotia for tomorrow. Middleton there, that's supposed to be a 0. You're not going to luck out with 9 degrees. That's a little bit of a typo on my part. 0 for Middleton tomorrow for your high temperature. In the 7-day planner for New Brunswick coming up on Thursday, some isolated flurries. It's sunshine for Friday. Saturday, a mix of sun and cloud. After that will be a chance of flurries on Sunday. There'll be colder temperatures to follow for Sunday night and the start of next week, which will be the start of March. And for Nova Scotia in the forecast coming up, we've got some isolated flurries for Thursday, a mix of sun and cloud for both Friday and Saturday, a chance of flurries at the end of the weekend on Sunday, colder air moving back into place Sunday night and around for Monday and Tuesday of next week. And for Prince Edward Island in the forecast, isolated flurries on Thursday with a mix of sun and cloud on both Friday and Saturday, chance of flurries on Sunday, colder temperatures for Monday and Tuesday.
So I don't know if you'd call that in like a lamb or in like a lion.
in like
right?
something cold.
What's in the middle? Something in the middle.
It's mostly the temperatures I'm looking at right now, but you know, so far, you know, lambish, but just cold.
Lambish. Yeah. I like that, lambish. Okay, we'll see you at the end of the show. Next, Canada's top soldier, the Chief of the Defence Staff, stopped by yesterday to talk subs, jets, and recruiting for the armed forces. We'll bring you that conversation right after this.
With Aaron and Peter. Did you hear we're giving away 30 trips to right here, Beaches, Turks and Caicos with Password to Paradise?
Listen for your passwords every 2 hours from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Welcome back. Well, military spending is a major focus of the federal government. The Nova Scotia budget even addresses defence projects. It's been a long time since Canada's Chief of the Defence Staff has had to oversee so much growth. General Jenny Carignan joins us, and no stranger to the show, very familiar. Welcome back.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you
here.
I should say that we haven't ordered or requested the Army to come in to clear us out of the storm. That is not why you're here. I want to get to defense spending in a moment, but first you visited the NATO Innovation Hub in Halifax called Diana. It was announced a couple of years ago. Maybe you can give us an update about what's happening there and the progress.
Yes, it's a very recent organization. It's about 2.5 years old. I was very impressed with the work being done by Diana. Already within a very short time, the number of defense industries who have been able to apply and work through the Diana process have increased exponentially, creating a lot of opportunities, but also connecting innovations with the solving of military problems. And frankly, it's very, very very positive growth and development.
So the idea is that this brings in researchers, non-military, say academics, others, technology companies, and matches them with military and try to solve problems.
Exactly. So the way this works is Diana engages with the military community. They craft what they call challenges, which are military problems to solve. And then businesses are brought in and offered the possibility to take on the challenges. And then once they go through the various steps, there's possibilities to develop prototypes and then engage into contracts and then basically start producing the devices that are required. And sometimes within 12 months, which is really, really a significant accomplishment.
That's lightning speed sometimes within military.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let me ask you about spending, because there's just been so much talk of it of late. And I think the last time you were here, we talked about the possibility of things like new submarines. We know that's going to happen now. And I won't ask you about the procurement process, but what is the Navy doing to prepare in advance of whoever wins the bid?
So the Navy is looking at the transition. So organizing this transition is going to be very important. Going from one platform to another will imply divestment of our old platforms and then training towards the new platforms coming in. So this is a significant endeavor, and this is what we are experiencing with the Army and the Air Force as well, with other types of platforms. But organizing this transition is what the Navy is going to be working on as we progress throughout the procurement process.
It's not as simple as bringing in new submarines and training crews. There's a complete mechanics and the overhaul that has to be done.
So there's going to be certainly some differences, but generally speaking, it will be about maintaining the capability, being able to conduct our operations so that, we can onboard the new capabilities after. So, but again, all very good news and things we have done in the past as well.
I have to ask you about fighter jets as well, because IMP, which is a Nova Scotia company, was involved in the bid with Saab Gripen, and we know we have F-35s. Could there be a scenario that there would be two fleets of different fighter jets?
So right now, our posture is, to wait for the decision as the review is ongoing. But from our perspective, once a decision is made, then we'll start moving forward. But right now, we're waiting for the decision.
Right. You can't simply go out and buy personnel to run all of this new gear, which will come into the hands of the armed forces over time. What about recruiting? Where are the new members coming from? And I know you've been heavily involved in the recruiting process since in your tenure. Are enough people coming forth? How much of a challenge does that remain?
We have seen a huge response from Canadians, so we are very excited about the results we had last year. So last year we went over our targets by 200. We grew the CAF by 2,000 members last year, and this year it's going to be even better. We have increased our target to 7,600 this year. And we are already at over 90% achieving this with, a couple of months remaining, so in a year. So again, our growth trends are going to be, there this year as well. So, and we consistently keep improving our processes, and this has shown great results. So we're quite. We are well set for CAF growth again this year.
We're sitting here on the East Coast, but it feels like a lot of the attention for the armed forces in the coming years will be the North.
Yes, but the East Coast has a lot to contribute to the North, with the Canadian Coast Guard base here, along with the Navy as well. So contributing to the projecting power in the Arctic via various means, one of which is maritime, is incredibly important. So, so everybody will be contributing. It's what we call, it's a joint fight in the Arctic, and everybody is contributing in their own way.
Expect a very busy few years on the East Coast.
Very much so, which is quite exciting.
General Carignan, thank you very much for coming in. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
That is the Chief of the Defense Staff. We will take a break. We'll be right back.
February is Black History Month, recognizing the Jamaican Maroons in Nova Scotia. The Jamaican Maroons arrived in Nova Scotia in 1796 after resisting British rule in Jamaica. Their labor and settlement contributed to portions of Citadel Hill, the Government House, and the early development of Halifax and the Black communities in the province.
In our health report this evening, an infant formula is being recalled over a toxin that causes nausea and vomiting. CTV's Amanda Debison has more in the Tuesday edition of The Lifeline.
The Canadian Food Inspection Agency is recalling a baby formula sold at Costco and online. It's over concerns the 1 kilogram containers of Kendamil infant formula may contain a toxin which can cause food poisoning. The toxin is not destroyed by heat and can survive temperatures that kill most bacteria. There are no reports of anyone getting sick in Canada. The recall was triggered by an illness in another country. The European company says the affected batches still pass safety guidelines, but Health Canada has a different standard. Finally, a new report from the Heart and Stroke Foundation suggests many Canadians don't know their own risk for heart disease and stroke. Only half say they understand the warning signs, even though 9 in 10 have at least one risk factor. Those risks include smoking, poor diet, stress, lack of sleep, and not getting enough physical activity. Saskatoon's Cliff Marchuk is sharing his story after what he thought was heartburn turned into triple bypass surgery at 66 years old.
I had the warning signs months in advance, and I didn't listen to it. I just thought it was something that I could shrug off and keep on going.
Marchuk is now encouraging others to use the online risk assessment tool on the Heart and Stroke website. While some factors, like age and genetics, can't be changed, experts say 80% of premature heart disease can be prevented with lifestyle changes. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for the Lifeline.
Entertainment news now. The director of the 2022 film Elvis is releasing his first documentary, also about the King. It includes never-before-seen footage. You may recall CTV film critic Richard Krause told us about it on Friday. Well, CNN's David Daniel has a preview.
Hey, the light's on. I can see you. Hello out there. Hello.
Baz Luhrmann's epic Elvis Presley in Concert features restored footage that had been forgotten for decades in a Kansas salt mine.
When I started to see what we had, I was a bit like, oh my God. And it was also, it smelled of vinegar, so it meant that it was actually rotting, it was like falling apart.
Camera crew, gentlemen. All right.
Then suddenly we found this 40-minute tape of Elvis just speaking about his life. And that was the light bulb moment, because most works on Elvis are other people talking about him.
There's been a lot written and a lot said, but never from my side of the story.
Luhrmann says making the film taught him a lot about the King.
I think he was always trying to disarm people about him because he was so striking and such an icon, That was really the big revelation, his humor and his humanity.
It's got to be like the first time we go.
In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
A turnaround in the markets today. The Dow Jones ended the trading day up 370 points, and Canada's 5 big banks are reporting earnings all this week, and all eyes are on market reaction. BNN Bloomberg's Lindsay Biscaya has details.
First up, the Bank of Nova Scotia, which topped estimates on better-than-expected results. Scotiabank saw earnings growth across all divisions, including domestic banking, wealth management, capital markets, and international divisions. The Toronto-based company has been slashing expenses to improve operations and says earnings growth should accelerate in 2026. And here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar was down 2 cents to end the day. West Texas Intermediate dropped to 66.26. Western Canadian Select was up 11 cents to end the day. And the TSX closed on a new high at 33,970. Those are your business headlines. I'm Lindsay Biscaya.
Kayla Mitchell's outside in the snow with our last look.
It is a snow-covered weather deck out here. There's a few very light snowflakes falling, but I'm not sure whether it's because it might be a very light flurry passing through, which there are a couple around tonight, or whether it's just a few snowflakes blowing in off of the roof. Let's take a look, though, at our viewer picture for tonight, and this is coming in from Englishtown in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. It was sent in by Nelson Edge, and Nelson estimates they got about 25 centimeters of snow from that nor'easter, and we're looking at that freshly fallen snow and then off into some ice there in the distance. Thank you so much for that, Nelson. Englishtown for tomorrow, the mix of sun and cloud and a high temperature near -2. Start of the day for tomorrow around the Maritime region, partly cloudy skies, cold temperatures, though, temperatures several degrees below the freezing mark, and for most of New Brunswick, they'll be down into the -teens. In the afternoon, it is increasing cloudiness, and there'll be some snow developing in western areas of New Brunswick and the southwest of Nova Scotia. That snow will continue to make its way into and across the Maritimes as we head through Wednesday evening and Wednesday night, but much lighter than what we just received, Todd.
Okay, Kaylin, you will like this. Astronomers say they have solved one of Saturn's greatest mysteries. They say they've figured out how Saturn's largest moon, Titan, came to be. After looking at data from various sources, researchers believe about 500 million years ago, a lost moon collided with Titan and essentially became part of it. The collision could also have led to the formation of those beautiful rings we know about Saturn. That would have happened hundreds of millions of years later. The study was published this month in Planetary Science Journal. And that is our look at the day here at home. Bruce Frisco is in this chair with your update at 11:30. CTVNewsAtlantic.ca and the CTV News app. has our updates anytime. I'm Todd Battis. Hope to see you tomorrow.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast. Watch live on Crave.